and welcome to my channel. Today it's one of those days that I felt so bored, so I have decided to check the Instagram page of In Between Maastricht. Here we go. This is a very interesting post. It's about Decolonial Mental Health, a lecture by Rivanna, a graduate student from Maastricht University. She will talk about racism in the mental healthcare system in the Netherlands. So as a woman of color and a refugee in the Netherlands, I myself felt so compelled to come and attend this discussion. So this is me taking you all the way to the event hall in between Maastricht. It's one of my favorite spots in the city. Anyway, Rivanna has covered a lot of interesting points in her lecture, and some of these interesting points are related to the barriers that impact minorities' experience in terms of understanding and perception of mental illness, and also the mistrust in the Dutch mental health care system, not to forget about the misdiagnosis and mistreatment. And one also of the most interesting points are related to the clinician bias. But before we talk about this point, I would like to draw your attention to this statue. It's one of my favorite statues in the Garden of In Between. Back to our topic, clinician bias. I think it's more related to the psychiatrists, therapists, and those who are involved in the mental health care system in the Netherlands. Anyway, if you want to learn a lot about Rivanna's research and findings, I will provide a link in the description box of this video and you can check the link. As for now, you can check this video to learn about my interview with Rivanna and from a refugee perspective, and how refugees should deal with mental illness in the Dutch mental health care system, and also with the issue of racism in the Netherlands in general. I will let you now listen to the interview and then I'll give you my feedback.
I'm Rivanna. I am a recent graduate from European Public Health, and I've done my thesis about racism and how it interacts with the mental health care system in the Netherlands.
So during the discussions, you talk about your own personal experience with the mental issues. So that was the drive for you to start your own project?
Partially, it was also an interaction I had with a professional in healthcare who took my mental health issues and minimized them because I'm a black woman, and didn't actively offer me mental health, but offered me the bare minimum because he didn't see the severity, because he didn't associate having mental issues with my blackness. So yeah, there was an interesting dynamic at play there, and I wanted to explore that a bit more.
Well, the key question in your presentation today was about racism. Is there racism in Netherlands? What's the answer? What is the answer?
The answer is yes. There is racism in the Netherlands. Yes.
So
yeah, it goes deeper than just microaggressions and just saying certain things or acting a certain way. It's embedded within the system. The system has a preference for white bodies, Dutch white bodies.
So the title of your presentation is Decolonial of Mental Health Care in Netherlands, and so speaking about New Dutch, we are talking about refugees here. So of course you encourage them to seek professional help, but how they can navigate their way and understand that maybe they are encountering some kind of racism during counseling or sessions with their professional.
So that's a very good question. I think it can be difficult to pinpoint exactly at what points this interaction is racist. I think when it comes to if assumptions are made about you without you explaining your situation first, explaining where you're from first, and explaining how your culture interacts first, if they make assumptions about you about that, and base their help and base their subsequent counseling and advice on those assumptions, that's when I would assume it's racist, especially if it's coming from a white Dutch person. I would also look at how they interact with you. Look at how sort of the emotional reactions they have towards what you say. There are some therapists that are quite they're good actors in that sense, so they know when to be sad and know when to be happy for you. But there are some that don't quite hide it well in a sense, and instead of admitting their confusion, they kind of just go with it in that sense. I would also look at if they completely avoid the topic of your race or your culture. If they say, "Oh, I'm not equipped to handle this," it doesn't necessarily mean that they're racist, but it just creates a sort of imbalance between you and the therapist. And it means that there's something, even though a therapy should be a place that's open for discussion, it's something that you don't discuss, even though it could be something that's detrimental to your health. So there are a couple of tips and tricks. I think you just need to pay attention. I think you need to be true to yourself and be honest. And if someone makes you feel uncomfortable, you have every right to request someone else.
All right. So one last question.
Yes.
It's about integration. Since we are new Dutch refugees in reality, so what do you think about integration? Is it a myth? Is it like we said, is it a destination or is it a process?
So the problem is integration is an inherently flawed concept, right? It's a donkey with a carrot on a stick. Integration means assimilation to the norm. That indicates that there's a destination, right? There's at some point you will truly, fully be accepted as Dutch. However, the definition of Dutch differs. If you look at people from Limburg, they're completely different from people from Amsterdam, right? The thing that they have in common is that they're white. Dutchness, in its definition, has white within its definition. And if you are not white, therefore, if you're not white, you can never be Dutch. And so I would say integrate to the point where you are, integrate to the point, as someone said, that will help your happiness in a sense. You know, if you need to get the passport, if you need to get a comfortable living, if you would like to speak the language, if you want to relate to other people, that's absolutely fair. But do not forgo everything you know and where you're from for that, because it's not worth it.
Right. Thank you so much.
No
I
worries.
enjoyed today's session. I hope to attend more with you, and I cannot wait.
No, thank you so much.
Well, this is me again. The lecture has done, and I'm going back home. I had an amazing time listening to Rivanna's lecture and all the discussions related to the topic of racism in the Dutch mental health care system. This knowledge somehow was enlightening. I can call it is enlightening, but somehow it triggers something within me, something you can call it fear. Fear of the future. As for now, everything is good, but it's always good to learn about the environment where we live. Anyway, guys, I had enjoyed my time in the in-between, like always, but at the end of this video, you can check a list of books that Rivanna recommended you guys and myself to read and learn about this interesting topic. Thank you. Bye-bye.